Let's face it, the worldview of Americans traveling abroad isn't the best. Many think Americans just put ketchup on everything, speak only one language, and only go to McDonald's and Starbucks while abroad. Well, they're kind of right. But first off, let me say that I have been guilty of many of the things I'm going to mention in this video. And there are certainly some very chill, conscious Americans that can blend in quite well. But after traveling to many parts of the world, almost every culture has their loud, ignorant, and annoying arseholes. Now, I already know there's gonna be tons of comments with people saying, America is an entire continent. Why do you call yourselves Americans? Well, because it is called the United States of America, and we're not the United Statesians or the USAians, we're Americans. Canadians are from Canada, Mexicans are from Mexico. So please try and hold back the comments from your mom's basement. Americans, this video is gonna be real. It's gonna be candid and straight up. I'm turning a mirror to myself, so why can't you? This video is meant to be taken with a grain of salt because it's really impossible to paint with such broad strokes and categorize an entire group of people, but when it comes to Americans, there are some things that make it very, very obvious. Let's go. One of the biggest things that I hear people tell me about Americans, no matter where I go in the world, is how loud they speak. And I think I know exactly what kind of American they're talking about. I can always spot an American when they are speaking way louder to each other than they actually need to be. These days, I actually make it a point to speak very low in English when I'm in public, just not to give away the fact that I'm American, because I really don't want to broadcast that out to the world. It's not because I'm not proud to be an American. It's not because I'm not proud to be an American. Sorry, the Walmart and gas station t-shirts just ruined that one for me. No, but the truth is, I am very proud of where I come from, and I know some amazing people in the United States. We're just in a complicated relationship right now. Americans, let's try not to speak so loudly in public. Not everyone wants to hear your opinions about everything. And that leads us to the next one. Let's get it. A lot of the time, Americans definitely tend to have this entitlement complex. Whether it's some ignorant, low-hanging fruit of a human making some distasteful xenophobic joke, or some pretentious tech bro complaining because he can't get a matcha latte. A lot of times, Americans can expect other cultures to be just like America. I see it all the time with people that move here to Portugal. It's almost as if a lot of us don't realize that we're in a completely different culture with different customs and different traditions. And a lot of the time, some are oblivious to that. America, you don't own the world because you think everyone watches the Super Bowl. They don't. Wow. Oh my God. Oh my God. Wow. Oh my God. Oh my God. There is no culture that seems to be as amazed by everything as much as Americans. It's always, this is the best thing I've ever had in my life. Wow, look how old this wall is. Is this what real food tastes like? Let's face it, Americans love everything. But how do they know when they really love something if they love everything all the time? What's crazy is that here in Portugal, love is not a word used very often. Might only be used a couple times in a 10-year relationship, and that would be perfectly normal here. Let's reel it in a little bit. We're here, let's bring it down to a here. This is one that I see so much that just makes my skin crawl. The everything is better where I come from mentality. So many times when I'm traveling abroad, I hear Americans telling everyone how much better everything is in the United States. We cook steaks like this. We have iced coffee. Everything is so much more convenient and fast. No one wants to hear your opinion and how much things are better in the United States. Or else, why did you even leave and travel in the first place? But to be fair, most people do believe things are better where they come from because that's what they're used to. This is a very subjective concept, and what is good to one person might be completely terrible to another, and that's just how it is. Everyone is entitled to their own opinion, but no one is obligated to listen to yours. One way to really stand out, especially here in Europe, is to wear your pajamas out in public. No one wears sweatpants to grocery stores like Americans do. This is just something you don't see here very often. I am definitely guilty of this because sometimes I don't feel like getting ready to make a quick trip to the market or pharmacy. But here, it will oftentimes be looked at in a negative way. Put some jeans on and try to look presentable just like your mama wants you to. Recently, one of the largest data breaches happened where billions of people's personal data was compromised by hackers. That's why it's never been more important to safeguard your private information and passwords. Luckily, the sponsor of today's video, NordVPN, can help keep your information secure with a plethora of security services protecting you from phishing, password attacks, malware, and ransomware. All it takes is your favorite online e-store where you've been buying all those gifts you saw on social media for your family members to have their security compromised, and boom. Hackers on the dark web now have access to all of your personal information. But the great thing is, Nord's VPN Dark Web Monitor alerts you when your sensitive credentials appear on underground hacker websites. Then you can use Nord's Password Manager to generate and automatically fill in strong passwords, keeping you safe from dark web hackers around the world. And NordVPN's Threat Protection Pro automatically scans the files you download for malware and removes them if they're infected. Currently, you can get 4 months extra on a 2-year plan here at nordvpn.com/DavePortugal. It's risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. Securing your personal data has never been easier with NordVPN. Now, back to the video. There is nothing more American than not minding your own business and policing another person like it is your job to keep everyone in check around you. Since I've been living here in Portugal and Europe, I have never seen anyone go up to a complete stranger and tell them how to live their life. Now, if the offense is something really bad and unlawful, you might see someone step in to put a stop to it. But when it's a minor offense and none of your business, most people in other parts of the world will just mind their own business because it is not your responsibility to impose your beliefs on other people and tell them how they should live their life. And boy, do I have some awful memories in the United States of Karens or other people sticking their nose where it shouldn't be. Mind your own business and move along. Boy, there is nothing more condescending than going to an old world bakery that's been doing the same recipe for hundreds of years and asking if they have gluten-free options. Sure, there are many dietary specific places all over Europe, but going to a traditional place and expecting them to have something that adheres to your diet is just ridiculous. I'll be honest, it would be very difficult to be vegan here in rural Portugal if you want to eat something that actually tastes good. But before you come to a place, you should do your research and see if they have what you're looking for. Not expecting that they were just waiting for you to show up and order some gluten-free bread. It's just not gonna happen, Captain. In a lot of places in the world, unlike the United States, the customer is not always right, especially here in Southern Europe, where complaining because your service is not up to standards will often make things worse. Most of the time, this is the same service they give to the people here in their own country. So why would you think because you're American, people are just gonna give you this amazing customer service because you demand it? There are a lot of touristic places around the world that are now used to tipping because of Americans, and that really pisses a lot of the locals off. Here in Portugal, tipping does exist if someone did a great job, but it is not mandatory like it is in the United States. If you want to take care of someone that did an amazing job, do so, but don't expect them to bend over backwards for you and complain if it's not what you were used to. Many times here in Portugal, you will have to get up to pay for your bill, and a lot of Americans don't know that, so they just sit there at the table super upset, not realizing that most places you go to pay at the counter when you're done. So they have this attitude with the waiter, and it's not their fault. And a lot of times they don't really understand why you're so upset. Remember next time that it could just be a cultural misunderstanding that you're interpreting wrong. I live here in Southern Europe, where road rage is certainly a thing. Most people joke that Portuguese are the nicest people until you put them in a car. And the same stereotype goes for Italians, which I can confirm. But one thing that I learned when I first moved here is that road rage here, for the most part, is usually short-lived. 9 times out of 10, when someone honks at you or something goes wrong, usually the person will just pass you and act like it never happened. Whereas in the United States, people get into these crazy games of chicken where they pull over and scream at one another and then try to fight each other. Now, there is certainly some psychopaths here in Europe that will do that kind of stuff, but I would say that these instances are very rare, as most people just couldn't be bothered. It's usually a honk, they might scream a profanity in their car, but usually it won't escalate to anything super serious like it does in the United States. Calma, cabrão. A lot of times here, especially in Europe, people will cross the street without even looking. That is something I would never do in the United States, as when I'm crossing in the United States, I always make contact with the driver to make sure he knows I'm there, which is something I still do here in Europe because I'm so afraid someone will just barrel through and hit me. But here in a lot of parts of Europe, people will just cross into the street oblivious without even looking. And this happens all the time. And if you don't stop for someone in the crosswalk, you will get some very dirty looks. Now, I know there's a big difference depending on where you live in the United States, whether it's New York City or California, as there's a lot of variation on how crosswalks are treated. But if you come to Europe, this is a fair warning that a family with a baby in a stroller might just cross out into the street, and you certainly would not want to hit them. Now, this is certainly a cultural trait that many countries share, but Americans certainly have a bad rap when it comes to getting super drunk compared to other cultures. I've heard this in many different places that Americans are some of the worst drunks, and I do think that there's some truth to this. In the United States, there's kind of this shots mentality that you get as drunk as you possibly can in a small amount of time. But you don't really see that as much in Europe unless you're hanging out with a bunch of 18-year-old Brits. Anyways, the point is, it's always a good idea to handle your alcohol and not make yourself look like a jackass, especially so you can keep your wits about you so nothing bad will happen. When in a new environment, you definitely don't want to draw too much attention to yourself, like I said before. My mantra is to keep it low profile, and everything usually works out great. Getting too friendly with people is a very American trait. In a lot of cultures around the world, it can be very strange or even disrespectful to say hi to people you don't know, or just walk up to complete strangers at a bar and start talking with them. This can sometimes seem invasive to people's privacy and can be really disrespectful. In a lot of cultures, this is not something that is normal at all, and it's really important to be aware of this. I've met a lot of Americans here in Portugal and in Europe that get upset when people don't wave at them. And that's because people don't normally wave at anybody in Portugal. They say good morning or good evening, bom dia, boa tarde. So you have to just know how people in different cultures address people in public. It's different everywhere you go. So anyway, like I said before, there are arseholes in every culture around the world that are guilty of many things that I've listed in this video. The reason I made this video is to just help Americans when traveling abroad be a little more conscious and have awareness when visiting new places so you can blend in better and not draw attention to yourself. After all, the world is a crazy place right now, and you never know what can happen. If you want to see more videos about traveling around the world and visiting unknown hidden gems, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button. I'll be posting videos like this every single week, and I have some awesome stuff coming for you in the next couple months. This is some guy named Dave on Earth, and hopefully we'll see you next time.